Well, it does affect. Well, it doesn't affect taste in certain ways. A lot of the flavor components. One of the things that is a little bit interesting. So we started out using cocoa nibs, and we moved to powder over time.
Okay.
For the most part, just so that you could get the efficiency of using a powder. And what was really cool with the first couple of batches that we did, when we were in our early stages, was some of that cocoa powder is very fine, and it leaves like a little bit of a haze. It stays in suspension pretty easily, and it wasn't like we dumped a whole lot in, but there was a tiny little bit of haze and texture, and the texture was what I think what I would like to bring back to what you have in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't have, because it's almost a little bit drier, and I don't know how to even fully explain it, but it's something that was a little bit more mysterious and interesting that I feel like might be kind of missing from what we've been putting out over this season and last. But I've got a way to, I think, bring it back without risking any kind of contamination.
Okay. Yeah, it's subtle, but as it sits, even in the can, it's opening up, a little bit, and you can definitely smell the cocoa. I mean, it's not real strong, but like as you bring it up to your nose, it's like, whoa, cocoa. That's then it's not strong or anything. It's just like you just notice it. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of spices, so I like a more bold spice presentation. But that's me. I also drink chai that's like super spice loaded.
Well, one thing is, really two things, I guess. With the idea for Retire by the Fire, a lot of our meads tend to be a drier, lighter profile, with the feeling and thought that a lot of people will, sort of want something that they'll drink for an evening, that kind of thing, and want something kind of refreshing. But the Retire, the idea was to stay consistent with that and have something that was relatively dry but incorporated a lot of those really rich flavors that you might be used to associating with sweet things. So like the cocoa nibs, the vanilla, and the clove are all stuff that you'd often find in baking, like sweet things. You find a lot of sweeter things from all parts of your, like, I don't know, beverages, whatever. And the idea is with us, was just to try and do that with something that was relatively dry. And I think that we also wanted to stay with something that was really subtle, so that it didn't blow anybody out of the water with it. Any one flavor component.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're going off dry, you can't really take it super bold because it'll completely it's like working with a traditional. You've got to be careful on your balance. So when you're going with off dry like that, and I've had some off dries that are really strong with the fruit or the whatever flavors they're using. And it tends to overwhelm it. I mean, especially in a session, in an off-dry session, you want something that's kind of refreshing rather than something that's overwhelming. At least to my way of thinking.
I think that's sort of what we were going for, and we. I'm interested to see this year with some tweaks. if I'm able to kind of take it to the next level with this one. Everything we do, we try and improve a little bit over time, and it's not to say that we want to change the recipe completely. Stuff like our basil lemongrass, I think, is where it needs to be. But
basil lemongrass.
Oh, it is so good.
Just trying to keep consistency up. If it's working with different ingredients, or even the same ingredient, different batches of basil might be a little bit different. It's always challenging trying to keep the product the same. So trying to improve that consistency or improve a recipe with a little tiny tweak that nobody but, the Charm City team and maybe a very select group of people will ever notice. That kind of stuff, I think, keeping a continuous mind for a little bit of improvement is, a good way to look at any recipe, or whether you're doing it as a home brewer or, at the pro level.
Yeah, I'm curious. I wanted to ask you. I see that Vicky has one of the it's coconut. You have coconut in the mead, and I basically walk around outside my house and there's a coconut on the floor, and I've always I've got them all over the place, and I've wanted to use them in mead, but I'm worried about the oil, because that, when you get into coconut and you start breaking out the meat, it's very oily. How are you able to overcome that? What I would imagine would be a film of oil on top of the fermenter.
Well, we put it in the secondary side, and we haven't noticed enough of a problem with it to that we weren't able to deal with racking and filtration and that kind of thing.
Okay. Was it like dried and shaved, or what was the form of the coconut, or is that a proprietary secret? I don't want
to. Yeah, we primarily dried and shaved.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll shave and dry some coconut and give it a shot. Thanks.
Yeah, you have the coconuts, right?
I got them all over the place.
I think one thing to think about when you use anything like that that's important that we've learned, and you guys have probably, Vicky, you and I definitely talked about this with some of the meads we tasted at Mazer Cup, where timing can be a really big deal, depending on what you're working with. So you don't want to, certain things have to be in or out very quickly when you add them. So like our basil lemongrass, that Thai basil, you sure don't want to leave that in there even a week, or it'll start turning grassy and really vegetal. The fresh notes only, you really want to have it out within a few days if you want something that tastes like it was, barely muddled a couple of minutes ago, Mm-hmm. And if you want those flavors to come through, every different spice, every different, fruit, nut, that kind of thing, whatever you're working with, there's going to be a specific, set of methods that you can use to get what you want out of it without getting undesirable components from the flavor. I'm really excited because I have been lucky enough to make friends with a home brewer who works and a sort of a flavor experimenter who works with a local but fairly big spice company here in Baltimore. You can probably buy on your, probably every grocery store in the country has their stuff on the shelf, but I'm not going to name names because I don't know whether I'm supposed to do that or not. But having conversations with him about different spices and botanicals and that kind of thing, and how each individual part of that flavor works, is something that I'm really excited about. So I'm teaching him how to make mead, and also trying to just do a little bit of collaborative experimenting, because he's doing things like dry hopping carrot juice, which just seems like mad science. But somebody might have said that about my, kitchen filled with 25 bottles of mead, not that long ago.
That's an idea. Dry hopping carrot juice. That's funny.
Okay.
Well, I had a pretty good laugh.
Yeah.
But that being said,
dry hopping carrot juice.
He uses like a hot back or a Randall type setup. I don't drink enough carrot juice to really.
I don't think anybody does.
Fully appreciate what he's doing, but I still think it's pretty interesting that he's that involved with flavor, that he's looking for, things that pair really well together. He suggested carrots in a mead. I wasn't sold on it, but maybe I'll be proven wrong.
Yeah, well, it's certainly creative, and you never know. I mean, we're laughing, but not really, because it's just, you never know. I mean, who knows? Maybe carrots in mead are the newest flavor sensation. You don't know until you try it.
Well, I mean, given how many odd things we've seen turning up in mead, and even in commercial meads these days, it's anybody's game. And it was funny because I can't remember who I was talking to, and we were talking. Maybe it was on the show last week. This goes to show you just how muddled my days have been. But we were talking about how do you come up with good flavor combinations, and they were saying I base it on how I cook.
That was last week.
That was last week, yeah, because I'm a seat-of-the-pants cook. I go, well, this looks good. I made salmon cakes today, and I don't follow a recipe. I go, well, I definitely got to have rosemary in there, because salmon and rosemary is really good together. And you know what? Some garlic powder would be good. And then, I think I'll do this and this and this. And so I'm throwing stuff in there and just screwing around with it until it feels right. And I think that's where a lot of these things are coming from. Also, some of them are coming from, hey, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in a bottle would be fun, But,
yeah.
But
yeah.
I like, James. I like that you're going with you've got a lot of herbal stuff going on, and I really think that's interesting because not a lot of people are comfortable with going the herbal route because it's so easy for it to go grassy or taste that vegetal note. It's it's so easy to go there.
Well, I think once you get the hang of it, or think about it a little bit more, and are careful, it's something that can be really, really interesting, really, really tasty, and it lends itself so well to the honey notes that come from underneath, if done right, that like our rosemary is dry mead or still mead. It's a not probably our top seller. It's definitely not, but it's one of my absolute favorites because the rosemary and the honey go so well together. It provides a light herbal bittering, kind of like a hop in a beer, and it's just a really cool, unique thing. And a cool glass of that on a summer day is pretty enjoyable. But we spent a lot of